Okay, Bad Jazz Dad here again with a review of an Eastman AC 822 fan fret. I have another, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold here. I have another video where I demonstrate the tones and, give a demonstration in fingerstyle, flat picking, full strumming, all of that. You can refer to that. This video, though, is particular to why fanned fret, or multi-scale as it's also called. So again, Richard from Richard's Guitars, you're to blame for this. And here is what I effectively call Tigger. And the reason I do so is because the mahogany on this neck was is not poo. That's pretty funny. It's not poo, it's Tigger. So I saw this thing about fan fret guitar and it made me start doing as much research as I could, and there's not that much out there, especially for an acoustic fan fret. So what is fan fret? It's actually multi-scale, and my point of my review here is to talk about the advantages. Okay, why do a fan fret guitar? What I learned is it's actually not new technology. This dates back to 15th century, and classical guitars, I think, were using it as well. But you just don't. I've been playing for 25, 30 years. I've never even seen a fan fret guitar. So I started looking around. The challenge was I couldn't find one to play. This guitar was on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast. I ended up having to buy it sight unseen. That made me nervous. I am not disappointed. So, what are the reasons to buy a fan fret guitar? Well, it may or may not be right for you, but I will tell you, when you look, and you can make these, what's amazing, I don't understand the geometry of it, but you can make these, the scale different all over the place. This one has about a 3/4 inch variance on the multi-scale. So I think it's like 25 inches, 25.5 inches on the low E from the nut all the way down the saddle. So you see that the saddle is tipped or shouldered down, right? So this is a longer scale from here to here because the nut on the low E is shouldered up. I think it's 24.75 on this. So that's not a very extreme, when you look at fan fret scales, that's not super extreme. The other thing that's interesting is you end up, so, you're slanted this way when you're starting, and the advantage, so here's the advantage, the ergonomics. A lot of people look at this and they see it and they just decide no way. I watched a blind test by some guitarists that were blindfolded, and this was put in their hands. They loved it. Guitarists who were handed a fan fret guitar that were not blindfolded, they struggled because there's just this mental image that gets locked in. When you are playing chords and you're in this position, your hand just naturally, ergonomically is tilted this way. The more you come back, okay, so this is the theory, but watch what happens with my hand. I get out here, I tilt away from me. I replicate a little bit of what that nut is doing. As I come middle, I'm neutral. And if you notice, the frets start to get neutral, and I think mine is right around the 12th or 11th fret is my neutral fret. That can vary from luthier to luthier. You can decide where you want to change your neutral fret. Like I said, I don't understand the geometry of it, but what you need to understand is when you're in this neutral position, it just works. Then as you get closer to here, you can see how my hand is tilting now. The frets are tilting this way. So ergonomically, the theory is it works. I will tell you, nobody's going to do backflips because suddenly there's such a dramatic change and either way. Boy, this just feels so odd. The frets are not where I'm having to concentrate to get my hand in the right position. I'm getting some fret buzz because I'm not fretting my chords correctly now. I've not experienced that. At the same time, this hasn't made me do backflips because it's so revolutionary to the accuracy of my playing. I would say for me, I enjoy it. I like it ergonomically. If I'm going to give a scale of 1 to 5, I'm going to give it probably a 3.5 to a 4. Yeah, I buy in. Next, multi-scale. Part of what happens is you end up with even tonality across the strings. Again, I don't understand all of it, but there's an interesting video on YouTube where an individual compares a Taylor 710 to this guitar. If you listen to the Taylors are known for, you know, a little bit of the overtones being on the low end and on the high end. With this fan fret, I was just amazed. First of all, the resonance is phenomenal, but that doesn't have to do with the fan fret. What you're hearing with the fan fret is an even spread of volume or gain, whatever you want to call it, across every string. No string stands out. No string is lost in the mix. The concept of that is that you've got a different tension here on a thicker string. You've got a different tension down here on a thinner string. For every acoustic guitar, you've got, well, every guitar, you've got different gauge strings. Those strings are going to resonate louder or softer because of the tension that's applied to them. This compensates for that tension and creates a much more balanced tone. That's the theory. That's a theory I heard when I was researching it. That does not disappoint. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. Absolutely. The last point is for open tunings. I actually started experimenting around. I've never done open tunings. I've done Dadgad. I learned how to play Hope by Rush, and I don't even remember what tuning that is at this point. It's been so long since I've done it. But I started doing open D tuning and just fell in love. My wife would just sit in the room. She doesn't never sit around and listen to me play. But she would sit and listen to me playing. I'll stop here, and at the end I'll retune this to an open D. The reason is that between the tone woods and between the even tension, you do not lose this low end when you get down on an open D. You can get down to a C sharp and you're not gonna get floppy. There's just an evenness all the way through that just creates an incredible sound I've not had before on any guitar. So on that level, the experimenting around with open tunings and creating just a holding tone. That's probably the best way to say it. Holding tone in an open tuning is magnificent. 5 out of 5 on that. All right, so those are my 3 things why I thought I would be interested in buying a fan fret. I think I gave 3.5 or 4 on the ergonomics. I gave 5 out of 5 on the evenness of the tonality, the adjustment or compensation that's made because of the multi-scale. No string stands out over one another. They're all even. And then the ability to do open tunings and not lose this low end, not get floppy, and just have incredible resonance all the way through. Beautiful. Those are my 3 reasons for doing a fan fret guitar. If that fits kind of where you're going with guitar playing, look into it. Bad Jazz Dad out.